Multimedia J Radio style.
Well, look who's back already. Yeah, that actually turned out to be better than I thought it would. What's up, everybody? This is Multimedia J Radio style. As promised, we're going to do a little wrap-up of what happened with the hurricane and some things like that. Talk about what's going on with the camera situation and what's going to go on with this channel from this point forward. First and foremost, just a big administrative note. I can't believe that I go to all the trouble to let people know, put up one last vlog before the hurricane saying this channel is on hiatus until the lights come back on, because hurricanes often knock the power out for a week or more around here. This isn't Florida, where we have underground power lines and building codes that are based on what happened in Hurricane Andrew all those years ago. You know, this is New England. Any hurricane, even a Cat 1, is an event. And as we saw with Irene last year, even a tropical storm can be an event under the right conditions. I cannot believe, though, that I went and to all the trouble to say, look, this channel is going to be on hiatus until after the lights come back on, and someone unsubscribes. Seriously? I'll tell you what, folks. I will never, ever say that I am taking a break from YouTube for anything ever again. And you can blame the stupid people who are responsible for this phenomenon for that. Seriously, this isn't the only channel where this happens either. I've seen it happen on other channels too. If somebody, tell me how backwards this is, because I hope and pray that I'm not the only person who thinks this. But how backwards is this? If somebody decides to be responsible and accountable and tell people, hey, I'm not going to be making videos for a while because of things like, I don't know, a natural disaster. People, I think we just said that here, and they unsubscribe. But if the person just vanishes, suddenly everybody gives a darn. Oh, shoot, what happened to so-and-so? I hope he's all right. Did he die? Why has this so-and-so not made a video in the past month? Oh, hey, so-and-so, can you please make another video? I'd really like to see another. It doesn't just happen on my channel, folks. It happens elsewhere, too. I've seen it happen elsewhere, and it's completely backwards. And what this tells anybody who does anything on YouTube is, don't keep your audience up to date on things, ever! Because if you even so much as sound like your channel is done for good, even if it's not. Oh, I'm out of here. Bye. Ugh. I'm just not going to say anything. And if anybody's mad at that, you have the stupid people responsible for this backwards phenomenon of people giving a darn if someone does the wrong thing to blame for it. Because that's what happens. People, yes, he's gone, I'm out of here. But if the person just disappears, oh shoot, what happened? Right. People are people, regardless of what's going on. So I'm just going to vanish next time anything happens. This is the last time I'm going to be upfront with you folks about this. And you have those idiots responsible for this stuff to blame for it. Because I'm really sick of this. There have been other people who've just vanished and the exact same thing has happened. People give a darn more when the person on the YouTube channel leaves them in the dark. However little sense that makes. Right. Now that that's out of the way, what happened with Hurricane Sandy? Here's the thing. Hurricane Sandy was the Northeast's Katrina. Even though we weren't direct, as I predicted, even though we weren't directly hit by the hurricane, the winds that we got were about on par with the freakiest regular windstorms not associated with a tropical system. So we basically, and this is where I got that 2-day thing from. My challenge for Connecticut Light and Power was to get my neck of the woods back on within 2 days. That's where I got that from. A combination of, we had a freak windstorm with these kinds of winds in 2005 that knocked out the power. Power was supposed to be out for 4 days, according to CLMP's estimates. It was back on in 2. So that was pretty nice. So considering that we weren't getting directly hit by this storm, I figured let's see if they can at least hold up to what they, match what they did in 2005 with the freakish windstorm. Let's see what they can do with that. And of course, they also announced this new person they got in charge, not that Jeff Butler guy who's gone, thank goodness. I heard he had a reputation for not being able to organize recovery efforts out in California. But this new guy seems to have his head on a lot better than the previous folks that have managed these kinds of recoveries. And he talked about how, last time a lot of us towns out here in the woods pretty much got blown off. The town selectmen were going to the local news media and screaming and hollering to people because they're going to the news media and screaming and hollering because they hadn't even seen a CLMP truck for days after the storm when everybody was in the dark. So unlike last time, the company did a much better job, made way more of a concerted effort to spread people out initially. It's kind of like, fix the easy stuff first, and then as the easy stuff gets fixed, the crews can get folded into fixing the harder stuff. So it was kind of like that, and I figured if they were doing that, it would work out better. Hey, what do you know? I was right. Of course, the damage done by the winds was very variable. I mean, there wasn't hardly any trees knocked down where I am, but in other parts of town, it looks like a tornado went through. Maybe they did get a funnel cloud or something like that. Nope. If there was a tornado, somebody probably would have announced it by now. But it looked like a tornado touched down in one area with the trees all getting blown down away from each other or something like that. So yeah, not good. And then of course, I also went with 2 days because I knew we weren't getting a direct hit, unlike, say, New York and New Jersey, which basically look like New Orleans after Katrina. I mean, the subways flooded in New York City, for Pete's sake. That's bad. All that salt water and all that salt water getting in there and causing all that damage, and they still have to pump the water out before they can even assess how bad things are. Then, of course, New Jersey got a direct hit from this. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't have the kind of hurricane building codes here in the Northeast that, say, some folks down in Florida might. Damage-wise for Connecticut, though, Hurricane Sandy is about on par with Hurricane Gloria as far as power outages go. Even though we weren't directly hit by Sandy, because we were on the windier side of the storm, things definitely got rather nasty around here. There's still recovery going on in the state of Connecticut, and there's still recovery going on in other parts of New England. And then I imagine all those crews are going to try and repair all the damage done in the mid-Atlantic region. Yeah. Oh, man. New York and New Jersey in particular. Wow. Low-lying towns there? Oof, what a mess. So, kudos to Connecticut Light and Power for doing a far better, I'm talking night and day difference, job with restoration out here, because you know how many times I go into work during a blackout and I get people say, you're from a hick town. You're going to be the last person turned back on. Yeah, that's really annoying. And I know that there are people in more developed towns closer to civilization that are still in the dark when I'm not. So in your face, all you people that made fun of me during Irene. There's one lady in particular. Her name is Melody. I don't know where she is right now because I don't work at that company anymore, but wherever she is, in your face. Nah, but I really shouldn't let these things eat me up when it was over a year since Tropical Storm Irene. But yeah, it's fun to be able to say, oh, hey, I got my power back. It's all those people that are just like, yeah, you're in a hick town. You'll be the last person turned back on. So kudos to Connecticut Light and Power for trying a slightly different strategy, and we'll have to see how long the restoration is in the areas that were harder hit. See if there really is that much, it shouldn't cause all that much more time in terms of restoration to fix the easy stuff first, then fold people over into the harder stuff until finally everybody's over at the spots that got pounded the hardest. But we'll have to see how everything works here. I'll keep an eye on the CLMP outage map, even though I have my lights back on, and see, last time it was like a week or two before everybody was turned back on. Mostly a week, except for really, really hard hit areas. So, I'll keep an eye on that and see how things turn out for the whole issue with Hurricane Sandy. Anyways, and then of course we get to keep an eye on the Mid-Atlantic region and see how things turn out there, especially New Jersey. New Jersey definitely got a direct hit from this thing, and some of the stuff I'm seeing on CNN and other news organizations like that, yeah. So, right. Now, one last note. I realize Post-Stormum isn't a word, but play along here. Yeah, I had to come up with something to go along with the whole Samsung Post-Mortem, which speaking of which, let's get to talking about that as one last part of this segment before I head off to work and start getting stuff together. Oh, there was unfortunately one casualty from Hurricane Sandy. The hot water heater in my place is completely blown, so even though the lights are back on, I still have to try and wash up with freezing cold water. Yeah, that's not good. Hopefully the landlord can get this fixed. Otherwise, I will be really, really disappointed. Because with all the extra overtime that I'm now working because of trying to make up for the hurricane at the warehouse job, I have no time whatsoever to be playing runaround games with the landlord. Hint, hint. Yeah, like he's ever gonna hear this. Anyways, moving along to our last topic here. Samsung SMX Post-Mortem, which is the source of the picture you're seeing for this radio-style segment. Yes, the camera did throw itself in the drink with the whole shin bowl thing. First and foremost, a little correction on the shin bowl thing. I didn't know at the time that Nongshim noodles are actually Korean and the most popular brand of instant noodles in Korea. So it's not like I just had some cheap job lot stuff. That was more along the lines of exotic stuff that they had there that they could have when their competitors didn't. Maybe even a way to draw traffic into the store if they could sell it cheap enough. If people want cheap food that isn't like the cheap food you find in regular supermarkets and stuff like that. So yeah, the Shin Bowl was actually spicy as heck, and it's known for being spicy. I think Shin Ramyun is what it's referred to in Korea. And it's usually served with kimchi, and it's really spicy stuff. And it's not your typical oodles of noodles, not by a long shot. This stuff is it's still a salt bomb, though, but it's definitely one heck of a spicy noodle bowl. Maybe I could find some kimchi to toss on top of it and try some stuff out that way, too, at some point. Yeah, just a correction on that. It wasn't just your regular ramen dish, but unfortunately the Samsung camera did take a dive into the drink. And, I don't know what I want to replace it with. By default, since that was a pretty decent camera, Samsung SMX, there's a cheap Samsung HMX that does HD that I'm thinking of getting. Now here's the thing. I have zero use for HD whatsoever. I don't really want to go to all the trouble to upload HD videos because of AT&T's bandwidth caps and DSL being dinosaur subscriber line and being slow to begin with, and AT&T doesn't plan on bringing Uverse out here to the sticks anytime soon. So, yeehaw! Dinosaur subscriber line it is. Unless I want to switch over to cable internet, brought to me by that lovely cable company that told me to get lost after 3 months. No thanks. I've seen how those people work. I know how disorganized and unprofessional they are, and they basically dig their own grave with the inefficiencies they tolerate in their business and the wrong people they tolerate actually being able to be in charge of things. They definitely lose money because of the people they have on their payroll, and if they wonder why they can't compete with AT&T, that's why. But yeah, I don't intend on switching over to them anytime soon. Plus, because they're a small company and they don't have a lot of head-end locations compared to AT&T, they got really hit hard by the blackouts. So I was able to use my DSL during the blackout with a special setup I had going where I used my jump starter and a cigarette lighter adapter to power the DSL modem, which is one of those 12-volt devices that conveniently works off of 9 volts. So it'll work even when it's undervolted by 3 volts. So between that and the 5-hour battery life on my netbook, I was actually able to jump online and mess around on Facebook during the blackout. That was fun. And I've actually come up with ways to refine that setup, and I found out that the jump starter can actually charge back up off of my work commute in my car next time. So if there's no charging station or anything, Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I've ever used that jump starter to start a car before. It's always been for blackouts. So even funnier now, because that thing's supposed to start cars. That thing's supposed to provide charge to start cars. And here I was yesterday using my car to charge it, using the cigarette lighter plug and a power inverter. So a little backwards there, don't you think? But yeah, so I was able to hop online during the blackout, which almost made the blackout not feel like a blackout, with being able to jump online and mess around in computers when the lights were out. That was pretty fun. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had cable, because their head-end sites were both dead in the water. So people were complaining about it with their cell phone, on their cell phone. So, like, hey, I can only get online because of my cell phone. The cable company's totally dead in the water. Yeah. So, and there's no really good internet options for me out here. I'd have to move back closer to civilization to get some decent internet. So I have no real intention. I mean, the standard def videos that I upload are already several hour to all night uploads, which why, and of course the whole bandwidth cap thing. It really would be too much effort for too little results for me to go HD for anything, even the gaming videos, I think. And of course, you folks out there, you've got bandwidth caps too. A lot of you, especially if you're in the United States. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be good if you had that kind of stuff going on too. So, for the most part, I'll keep it so that you can see the content. I'll use the HD features on any camera I get to improve the picture quality a little of the source material that the standard def file that's uploaded to YouTube gets compressed from, to make things look better that way. And because I've done that with watching people's HD videos in 360p on YouTube and stuff like that. So I know it works that way. So that's what I'll do. Anyways, cameras. Darn it, I'm supposed to be talking about cameras in this last part of the show. It's already going on towards the 20-minute mark. So my first choice for a camera, because I had a Samsung SMX, and all these companies that were making standard def camcorders really cheap with like 56x zoom on them, all these zoom cameras and stuff like that. I liked all the geeky features of the Samsung camera, like USB charging and the 4-hour battery life and stuff. Even though Samsung's not exactly what I think of when I think of cameras compared to some other some real camera companies out there, tongue-in-cheek. They definitely use the technical stuff that I've come to associate their products with in that camera, so I was able to forgive the blur camera features in exchange for things like a 4-hour battery life and USB charging. That was fun. But their camera, they have a Samsung HMX camera that I could get, which would be roughly within the same price range, except I got that SMX, the model year on clearance, for down around $100. So cheap camera compared to any real cameras that any real camera folks would use. But there's another one that's on sale right now for like $160. It's an HMX, but it has a CMOS sensor, and I hate CMOS cameras. I realize they're all the rage right now, but CMOS cameras and that ugly jello effect that looks like a webcam gone wrong. I mean, I don't want to spend a decent amount of money on something that's basically an oversized webcam or smartphone camera. I'd much rather have something with a CCD, because CCDs don't have that kind of jello effect if the camera gets bumped, or if you're recording it on any kind of vibrating surface, like if you're driving around on a motorcycle or something like that. I'm sure I could get away with having a CMOS camera and find a way to make that work, even with the digital image stabilization that comes with those things these days. But I usually can't stand CMOS cameras, and I'm very disappointed that all these companies, rather than offer low-end, cheap cameras that the general public can easily afford in this great recession when nobody has any money, I'm very, very disappointed that there's been a bit of a shakeout in terms of cheap camcorders, and there's only like a couple companies left. There's quite a few, even big name electronic names like Sanyo, the poor man's Sony, as they've been known over the decades. I don't see anything from them anymore either. So I'm thinking either a Samsung or a Canon, but I'm going to have to do some digging, because I'd much rather have a camera with a CCD than a camera with a CMOS sensor, even though there are some graphical and quality improvements with CMOS over CCD. I just don't like that whole jello effect because, I grew up with crappy quick cams and I still have my Logitech quick cam from years and years and years ago that, it looks really, really jello-y and 15 frames per second and grainy as all heck. And I'm not talking film grain either. I'm talking really crappy webcam grain. So, yeah, I tend to associate webcams with, and the whole wobbly, jello-y CMOS stuff with low-quality webcams. So I don't want to spend any decent amount of money on something that's basically a souped-up webcam. So I'm thinking either Canon or Samsung, but I definitely want something with a CCD if I can. Otherwise, maybe I'll just hold my nose and get a Samsung HMX since I liked the SMX so much. But it's not a it's not a cut and dry decision. And I don't know what I'm going to get, when I'm going to get. Plus, I've been pounded with every expense in the book this past month. So I may just say heck with it, not spend any money, and just wait for things to get a little better, if they ever get better at all, which I don't see any light at the end of this tunnel. But personal issues are another story for another day with how things have been this year. So, that's basically the story here. Weird stuff on YouTube whenever people are honest with their audience about having to go away for a bit. Sandy didn't hit us as hard as some other parts of the country, and there'll be relief efforts going on in New York and New Jersey for quite some time, I can imagine. This was basically the Northeast's Katrina, even though it was only a Category 1 with the kind of damage that was done and the storm surge and things along those lines and all that water that got blown into Long Island Sound. And this whole camera thing. One thing I will do, though, I will not use a spider tripod on a tabletop in front of a soup bowl ever again. I'll find something else that'll work better in case I accidentally bump the camera so it doesn't go falling into the drink. I'm kicking myself for that. I like to think that I'm a multimedia hobbyist, and here I am doing something that basic and elementary, screwing that up. Whatever. Right. Time for me to cook up some ramen noodles and head off to work. Now I've been doing this so long that it's too late for me to make the stops I wanted to make on the way into work to pick up a few things now that the power's back on. So that'll have to wait another day. Hopefully the landlord fixes the darn water heater, hint, hint. Otherwise I've got some plans for that too. Good old storms. They bring out the creativity in everybody. Right. Stay safe, everybody. Those of you recovering from Sandy, I wish you Godspeed for a speedy recovery. May life return to normal for you as quickly as possible. It's already returned somewhat to normal for me, quicker than Irene did. Again, kudos to CL&P for their notably improved response efforts. It was, after this storm, it was great seeing a CL&P truck in my town the day after the storm stopped, as opposed to seeing everybody except CL&P for at least a week afterwards. Major improvements there, and we'll pick things up with some stuff when I get all this camera stuff sorted out. Or I can just do segments like this, or gaming segments don't require a camera. Okie dokie. So until next time, this is Multimedia J, back online a lot sooner than I thought I would be after Hurricane Sandy. Signing off. Thanks for listening, and thanks for stopping by.